Hi, I'm here to do another sketchbook tour, and I have here a Stillman and Birn Beta series, mixed media paper sketchbook. I started it back in January 2023 and just finished it here in June of 2024, so about a year and a half to finish this. And one of the reasons it took me so long was because it was too nice. The paper is pretty thick. It is, let's see, 270 GM paper, pretty thick. Very nice, takes watercolor very well. Another thing is that I kind of started out, this was Patreon illustrations, I kind of started out with some oil pastel. It does not do oil pastel very well or colored pencil very well, but it is wonderful for watercolor. So I did, these are not in order. I kind of worked all over the place. These are actually one of the more recent things I've done just because I didn't want to waste this space here. So I've been doing some birds. This is one of the early things I did. This was the basis for some Patreon illustrations, as were these, which are in oil pastel. I went back later and added to this one, just kind of doing some experimenting. This is some penguins, and then I did recently add more penguins to the page. Just trying to make the most of this paper. This is, I'd gotten some new colored pencils and I was kind of swatching them out, and you can see that the paper isn't obviously textured until you go to use a dry media on it, and then you can see how textured that paper is. I was not wild about that on there. I think this is some oil pastel. I got some new oil pastels also during this time, and I was trying them out on here. If you put them on thick enough, it actually works pretty nice. This originally had something different on it, which I didn't like. I am not necessarily big on covering up things I don't like. I don't worry too much about that, but I did like, I did kind of like these and didn't want to just waste the rest of the page. These were inspired from the book The Land of Stone Flowers. These illustrations were kind of, they're very sketchy, but a little bit in that style. And so then I had this big blue page here, and I just took a white gel pen, not gel pen, a white paint pen, and drew on it. I kind of like that look. I think that's kind of nice. This was some experimenting, doing some abstract landscape. There's some collage paper here. There's just a lot of different things have gone on this page. Don't particularly like it, but I like certain aspects of it, so it was a learning thing. This is from, I have a trees book. It's a book that has different tree illustrations by different artists, and so this was inspired. The thing that I really liked in this was the sky color. I thought was really interesting, and so I that's something I would do again, is use that kind of, and have done again since that time, some sky color. This is a water, this was I believe this was acrylic wash on this one, or at least mostly. This was a watercolor one, and I do really like how it turned out as well. But again, it was inspired by someone else's illustration in that book. This is some more oil pastel, so I just have a scrap sheet in there to protect the birds that are on this side. Some more watercolor birds. There's some, like, I really like how this, some of the granulating watercolors look really nice on this paper. I had initially thought I would not use this again, but I do think I would. I am still a little intimidated by the quality of it, but if I can get past that, it is very nice. These are some cats I had done as illustrations, I think for Patreon, and then I more recently added these mice in the extra spaces. These were some acrylic wash that I got, and I just swatched them over here. This was trying to match or come up with a palette of colors that I wanted to use, and was fairly happy with those. This page is generally a mess, but it kind of served the purpose of trying out these colors together. I have some more watercolor birds here. This one, I took more time than I usually do because I painted a colorful background and then actually took time with an ink pen and went around each of those little dots, so I don't usually do things that tedious or time consuming. Again, I really like how the granulating watercolors behave on this paper. This was just kind of a fun, I was using some different of my green watercolor paints and just playing around with them, and it kind of turned into this page of leaves. These were digitally altered to become stickers, and then I did a lot of doodling with paint pens around them. This was a watercolor dog. I had a Patreon request for animals, pets wearing glasses. This is a watercolor and pen and ink, and it was inspired by Creation CC here on YouTube. So if you want to look them up and see what they do. This was just trying out some different kinds of trees. I actually had a new pen that I was also playing around with. This was a little sketch on location. I'm trying to do a little bit more urban sketching when I have the opportunity. This was just a bunch of doodling, and actually still has the tape on there, so should we peel that off? I love peeling off tape. Oops, I want some paper. Oh well, it's not like this was a great illustration. And I could have heated this with a heat gun first, would have helped. It's also been on there for a very long time, probably a year. Okay, there we go. This was just playing around with negative spaces. This is another watercolor that I doodled on top of, which is a fun thing to do. This I was just trying some kind of wonky chicken illustrations, and it kind of just went from bad to worse as I worked on it. I think this might be Neocolor 1, I'm not sure, and watercolor probably. This is some collage fish. I did like how these turned out. I thought they were kind of fun. Just on top of a page that I just spread some watercolor on. This was an experiment with Waterman ink and also dusted truffle diamine fountain pen ink, and those two inks sprayed with bleach. The Waterman turns this brownish color, and the dusted truffle, which is a brown ink, turned this really pretty turquoise thing. So that's with bleach sprayed on it, and then more of these little foliage things painted back in. I think there's some interesting possibilities there. I was doing a lot of experimenting. This was some Patreon illustrations that were more recent, I believe for June. This was some more play with ink and bleach. This was a couple different kinds of ink, the red ink and then the Waterman ink. And then I just went back, and I don't know, I probably need to go over it in black so they show up, but kind of doodled in some trees here. It kind of made me think of a forest on fire. So again, I think there's some interesting possibilities with those techniques. Some more watercolor mixed media techniques. I believe this has some ink and some bleach and some watercolor and just a bunch of different mediums, and just playing around with things, and you can see it's got some very interesting texture in it. This I was playing with some Kuretake Gonzi Tombi granulating set, their new granulating set. I was playing with that and swatching it out, and then I thought they kind of looked like planets, so I just went ahead and painted around the swatches and just turned them into a planetary scene. These are ones that I added later, but all of these were from those paints that I was trying out. This also is from using those same paints. This was, I had a watercolor background, and I just used a rainbow pencil to kind of do negative space tree scene. Not terribly effective, but it was kind of fun to do. Here's some more negative space trees. And when I say that, it was like a watercolor page with these. I had tried to do a watercolor resist. It was a little bit of a fail, but then I just went in with actually this is with the rainbow colored pencil as well, and colored in all the negative spaces. This is another little watercolor experiment. I used saran wrap on there, and it got some interesting texture. This was on a recent camping trip, and there were some beautiful woods, and so I just did some of these quick watercolors trying to kind of capture the feel of it, and I'm actually pretty happy. The scenes were entirely green, but I like how I did the colors on these. So actually I mixed up a whole set of acrylic paints to kind of mimic these colors that I got with my watercolors, and I'm trying to use those. And that was this whole paint mixing. Where was that? Back here. This whole paint mixing thing was trying to get similar colors as these to use, kind of decide on a palette of colors to do some acrylic versions of these. And then this was playing around with those paints. And this is the last page, and this was another thing for Patreon. I usually make some dates and days of the week that can be used in planners. And one thing interesting about the Stillman and Birn is this end cover is the same paper as the rest of the book, which makes the whole entire book be usable. So that's the end of that sketchbook, and I'm looking forward to starting another one. It probably won't be the same kind. I'm probably looking at, well, I usually work in multiple sketchbooks at once, but I do have one that will be similar to this, will probably be my Strathmore Mixed Media, which is a favorite as well. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.